Hi everyone, welcome back to this channel of crafting, crochet and knitting. My name is Nikki. How are you guys doing? As always, let me know by leaving a comment down below. So, as you can see, there are some toys out on the shelf and we are going to be talking about toys in today's video. Not all the toys are out because we have hit peak toy and yeah, they don't all fit there anymore. So I just put a few of the more recent ones out on display. But I have also been up to some other stuff as well because the weather here has been absolutely atrocious again, and I'm sat in my big jumper and a blanket and still cold. It is completely chucking it down with rain, and I've been stuck in house for the last week, and yeah, I'm climbing walls. I'm at a loose end. I've got a lot of time off at the moment and I'm very bored, and I spent the last night, what, 2.5 hours baking? So yeah, I want to show you guys some baking that I've been doing. So I actually spent some time making macarons, I think it's macarons for the French one. So let me show you a picture now. Yeah, so as you can see, there are these little sort of very colourful meringue almond sort of cakey pastry things, and yeah, they're really lovely. A little bit of cream in the middle, and I had a go at them, but I did slightly burn mine. I think I followed the recipe to a T, except that I don't think I got the right texture, and my my little macaroon shells were quite flat, so I think when I put it in the oven for the designated time, they cooked a little bit quicker than they should have done if they had not been quite so flat. So they're a little bit crunchy, but they're still nice. I'm really glad for a first attempt how well they came out. So yeah, that's one thing that I've been up to. I've also just been making lots of snack foods as well because we're trying to cut down on plastics. So we've kind of been like getting nuts and things in bulk and then making stuff for ourselves. So I'm not going to show pictures of those because it's just like snack aisle things. That's another thing I spent ages last night doing. And the other thing that I've been working on, sort of in that midpoint where the weather has been pretty gross but there's been enough light to work on it, has been a cross stitch pattern. So I do dabble in a little bit of cross stitch. I make the odd motif every now and then, but my main crafts are definitely crochet and knitting, so not very often. But the current one that I've been working on for well over a month on and off, just whenever it has been light enough to do, because the cross-stitch material underneath it is incredibly fine, and you do need some good light to see what's going on. When I'm knitting and crocheting, I think there's a degree to which when I'm used to the stitch, my muscle memory just kicks in and I can just do it by touch if I need to. So I'm not straining my eyes, but every time I cross-stitch, I'm really having to pay attention to where my needle is coming through the material. So yeah, definitely a bit more straining for me. I need good light to do it. But this is how far I've got so far. There we go. So I do like making little pencil grids to keep me in the right place, especially on this fine Ada. This is 11, so it's very small little squares, and there are lots of half stitches and quarter stitches involved in the pattern as well, so it's quite intricate and fiddly, but it's going okay. As you can see, I've done most of the dark colours now. I've just got a little bit of some grey up in the corner on this ear to finish. I think it's actually white on this ear that I need to finish. White down the middle, so even though it looks white because of the background, there's no actual thread in there yet, so I need to put that in. And I need to make the eyes nice and brown and gorgeous. So yeah, it's a lovely, lovely pattern. There's lots of white fur here as well, white yarn to put in down there too. Not yarn, it's thread. Wrong crafts. So yeah, love how that's turning out. But once I finish that one, I do have to make another one on the other side. Yeah, have to make a second one, so that's going to take me absolutely ages. But it is a very, very sweet pattern, so well worth the effort. I'll just have to find the sunshine. The day star needs to come back. Yeah, so that has been the baking and the cross stitch that I've been up to. But what about these toys that I said we were going to talk about? I've got two toys to show you, and I couldn't quite decide whether to show you the one that has a little bit of a backstory, or the one that I think you're going to find most interesting. I couldn't decide which one to show you first, but I've decided to go with the backstory and leave the one that I think you're going to be really interested in as a big reveal at the end. So bear with me. So what is the backstory? Well, there's actually two backstories. So here is the toy, and basically this yarn is a yarn that my mum bought because she wanted to knit a baby blanket. She wanted to get back into her knitting. So she picked up some Aran yarn. I think it's very light Aran, maybe a very heavy DK kind of. It's actually more in the middle. But she started knitting up blanket squares, and she chose to do a 2x2 rib stitch, which isn't what I would have gone for a blanket square. Because rib stitches try and like pull in the middle of the work. So what we ended up doing was saying it would be better to do, she's doing alternating colours, so it would be better to do one of the colours sort of aligned the rib stitch one way, and then to do the other colour, alternate squares, the rib stitch actually aligned 90 degrees. So if I can find a picture to put in the video now, just to show you kind of what I meant by that, where the actual pattern is going at different angles. And that would try to pull some of that back into a square. But it did mean that the border was such a massive issue, because what was my mum going to make for the border? And I said that she should probably do something simple, just a garter stitch, so that the squares would speak for themselves and be the focus. But she didn't like the garter stitch, and so she started trying to do a 1x1 rib. And I was like, how is that going to work? What are you going to do when you get to the corners? And how is it, which side are you going to align it to the green? Are you going to align it to the yellow? So she did this and she didn't like it. She ripped it back, and then she did a 2x2 rib in white for the border, and she didn't like that either. And I was like, you know what? I'm at home with nothing to do and getting quite bored. I'm just going to drive over and come and crochet a border for you. So that's what I did. It basically, the weather being that sort of very, it was much better where my parents live the day that I visited, but it still kind of went from sunny to sort of cold and cloudy sort of throughout the day. But we sat in the garden just having a really lovely time chatting whilst I crocheted a border. And at the end we had a finished blanket between us, and my mum gave me all the scraps, which I weighed up, and I thought it would be really good to make a matching cardigan, baby cardigan out of, but there wasn't enough yarn, so instead I went for a matching teddy bear. So yes, quite long-winded, but also the other backstory really to it is what I chose to do the teddy bear pattern with. So I wanted to make a stripy teddy bear because I wanted to have another go at making stripes in a teddy bear without having to cut the ends off and darn the ends in. So let me attempt to explain what I mean by this. And we have two very good examples to work with right here. So from the front, you can't tell that there has been any issues with making stripes on my frog toy. But from the back, you can see that the legs spiral. So what I did with this was I'm crocheting in the round. So I'm just doing each stitch on top of the previous stitch. And when I get to this last point here, where I'm about to change colour, I go through the stitch, I yarn over, and I pull through in the previous colour, but then I do my second yarn over and pull through to finish the stitch using the new colour, and then I just continue doing the round. This is quite tidy, it's a very tidy end, but it is spiralling because when you crochet in the round, your stitches shift ever so slightly each time, and changing colour makes this incredibly obvious. Hence, this is the back of the frog and not the front of the frog. And so, yes, that isn't the correct way to do it. And so I wanted to try and find a way of doing it without weaving ends in, because the benefit of doing that is I actually just carried the yarn behind the work and never had to cut anything off. With the rabbit, I tried a different approach. I tried to finish the stitch and then slip stitch into the next one using the same colour, and then pulling up a loop in a new colour and going again. But that ended up doing this, and I couldn't work out for a little while why it would do that, and I think I worked it out. I think it's because what I did was, even though I pulled up a loop, I didn't chain it to a certain height, I just then kept going in the round. So there is still a shift, but the shift is this sort of, all the grey shifts up, or the yellow shifts up instead. I hope that it makes a little bit of sense, because what I ended up doing with this teddy bear was finishing the stitch and slip stitching into the next one, but this time when I pulled up the next colour, I chained one, and then I did my US singles or UK double stitches in the rest of the round, and so that seems to have worked. I've got a little bit of sort of tension issues here, but I've closed off each round with a slip stitch, but I've started a new round with the chain up and then going around. So when I was just pulling a loop up, I wasn't actually getting to the right height to start a new round, and so the overall effect is that I was still kind of spiraling with the rabbit. And as you can see here, this is not spiraled. Like I say, there are some tension issues, and I also did pulled the green and pulled the yellow up at different parts of the round, so that at each point there wouldn't be like one single seam. And so yeah, if I'd have just done the tension issues a little bit better, I think that would have worked absolutely fine, because you can see that the yellow is a line, the green is a line, especially on the back here. If I just move these loose threads, you can see that that's actually perfectly neat, not any problems there. I'm not hiding anything under the arms either. So I think I finally have a method for doing this without needing to cut the yarn and weave my ends in all the time. So definitely happy about that. This bear was a little bit of an experiment, just to use up some scrap yarn. It doesn't matter too much, but I think it was a success if I can just sort out those tension issues. So now, let's put the bear on the shelf for a moment. The bear will go eventually to my mum to go with the blanket. So I've got to sneak this toy from the side here without showing you, so that it's one big reveal. Okay. This toy, I think I dropped a few hints in a previous video where I said I was going to make sort of a Sackman style, and actually if I just quickly get the bear back down, the Sackman style is the head straight into the body and straight into the legs without any, without stopping and fastening off the toy, and then the ears and the arms and any detail is added to that single head, body, feet motif. Not motif, pattern, base pattern, I suppose it's base pattern. And so I was going to do one of those and make details up myself for a pattern where I'd seen some patterns on the internet, but they were either priced or they were free and not massively great. I think there are some more now that might be okay, but I instead chose to look at a few pictures and try and make my own. So presenting the Force user, Baby Yoda. I love how everyone calls it Baby Yoda. Its name is not Yoda. So yeah, Baby Yoda here. Yeah, so this head and underneath, I can just show you the feet, is the Sackman pattern in green. And then what I have done is I've made the ears. I used the excuse me. I used the reindeer ears from my Snuggle and Play crochet book and adjusted them so that I actually had this sort of dint in the ears for Baby Yoda. I used the bunny's nose as inspiration for Baby Yoda's little nose here in detail there. And then we have got the arms are just part of the sort of little Sackman teddy bear pattern, except that I had to play with the colours to do a green hand in a beige sleeve, and these little cuffs are actually taken from the Harry Potter kits. All the Harry Potters have little black cuffs on their robes, and so I made a little beige cuff that I sewed on separately for Baby Yoda. The skirt is completely made up. I just went with, I think it was either 18 or 24 stitches was the circumference of the body at this sort of height here, So that's what I started with, and as the body increased, I increased the skirt slightly, and then when I got down to the point that the legs were forming, I just then kept increasing a bit more to get this slant again on the skirt. And the cowl is just crochet about 15 stitches, I think, backwards and forwards over and over again, and then getting sewn on at the end there. So that is my Baby Yoda that I've made up. Really happy with Baby Yoda. I can either sort of balance Yoda like this, or I can make the skirt kind of like maneuver around his legs so he looks like he's walking a little bit. It's hard to do just on my hand here, but yeah, it's been really lovely having Yoda on the shelf. So very happy. And my next attempt is going to use the same Sackman pattern as the base, except I'm going to be doing the base in blue, in quite a dark blue. So let's see if anybody can guess what a dark blue Sackman base is going to become at some point. So let me know in the comments if you have any guesses for that. So what creature is going to be a base of dark blue? And yeah, I'm going to have to work with the details of that creature as well, work out what I'm going to do there. Oh, speaking of details, actually, one I forgot to mention was I decided to go with safety eyes for Baby Yoda, because I think when you look at Baby Yoda, something that makes him very, very cute is those eyes and how sort of wide and innocent they look, and I just thought that if I sewed the eyes on, it wouldn't be the same effect. So because this is not going to be a child's toy at any point, I decided I would pop the little safety eyes in. So safety eyes are meant to be safe for children, they're not meant to be a choking hazard, but when I make things like I have done from the Snuggle and Play book, I have sewn the features on just so that there's that extra level of security if any particularly young child were to come across them, that they wouldn't have any risk at all. And when I have gifted any of the teddy bears that I've made using this Sackman base, if they've been older children, I have put little safety eyes in, but if they've been younger children, I have sewn them on instead. But yeah, Baby Yoda needed these safety eyes because the safety eyes catch the light, and that's a little detail you can't get if you sew the eyes on. So Yoda, Baby Yoda needs to come up here now. Like I say, it's not even called Baby Yoda, but so yes, those are the toys that I've been making. I do have another project in mind that I want to make and keep a secret and do a reveal for you guys. So yeah, put your guesses in the comment section for that. And obviously I will let you know if you're correct nearer the time. But for now, the other project that I do need to make is the one that you guys have voted on over the last few weeks. So I gave you a choice for the next Snuggle and Play crochet animal project that I would crochet up between a zebra, a hippo and a duck. And the winning toy design was in fact this week the zebra design. So I'm going to be making the crochet Snuggle and Play zebra pattern up, and yeah, you guys just obviously wanted me to struggle because this involves black yarn, and black yarn is incredibly difficult to work with because you can't see your stitches. So this might take me a little bit of time to do, but once that zebra is made, I will be showing it to you on a video. And for now, I will say goodbye and get crocheting. Have a nice week and see you soon. Bye.